Alright, so here I am. Welcome to the Daniel Veillon show on YouTube. Um, I really, on Launchpad 1, please forgive me, but I forgot the name of the show on Launchpad 1 that I do. Please go on the Daniel Veillon show channel on YouTube to watch the the video version of this episode. Okay, as you'll notice, hopefully, I have my forehead and my face and nose, um, and mouth covered in red and white. The white didn't I didn't think of the white initially, but I figured that's that is probably the best way to cover the rest of my mouth, nose, forehead, and face. And the reason I did that was like I put on YouTube. It's to pretend like I'm cutting a promo. And I, this is how I would respond. In the past, I have, when I would watch wrestling every now and then, I said this on YouTube, I wanted to talk about what it's the purpose of this podcast, of this promo, is to let people know that a recent development for what I want to portray or how I want to act on screen if and when I can train to be a manager. I have added videos where I called myself I had given myself I nicknamed myself after my personality, and that is paradox, having a paradoxical personality, where I can act completely opposite. I can act one way, and then the next minute I can act the opposite, and that is the nature I was born with. Well, I didn't want to go by that because I felt like that's something more along the lines of somebody who's about to get in the ring. So that I can't get in the ring, but I can talk for people. I thought, well, what can I do to to almost like stand out? Well, I'm short. I'm about 5 foot 3 inches tall, so I'm short, it would be perfect actually to use this kind of gimmick. And I thought I'll just do what nobody would expect somebody from my height and size, being that I cannot take a bump. Why don't I do something that's not expected? And for me, what's not expected is, and this is the practice promo. Now I realize this was already done, so let's call this fantasy promo work. If I was a manager back in the time um when they put the TNA title on EC3, as I didn't understand his push, I have to admit that does take hard work to do. And he was so good that he wasn't aggravating because he wasn't aggravating because he wasn't good. He was aggravating because he was good. Because when you're a character where everything is handed to you because of who your aunt is supposed to be, you're gonna be expected to act like that. So this is how it is. Matt Hardy said, "I think I should have one more shot." So later on in the night, so the next week on Impact, as I recall, Matt and Jeff are standing in the ring, and I'm not sure. I would have to try to find a clip on this, but I believe EC3 may have been standing by the entranceway because he didn't trust Matt Hardy to keep his hand, to keep from hitting him. So he said, "Oh, I'll do it, but it's with a caveat." And this when he took extra long, getting to the points that just got me to think this. Just get to the point, and they got me to. I thought about that as I was watching a documentary on Randy Orton just now. I thought, well, even though I don't want to get in the crosshairs, being that I'm speaking for someone, why don't I try to be. Why don't I try to think of some of the things I would want to say, but I'm too scared to say in real life. And I'd gotten that tip from watching Pro Wrestling 101 on YouTube from Just Incredible. He said play up however you are in real life, just play that up, or and then he even delved into how he's not necessarily like what we saw on TV, but the ways he could not be in real life was what he added, and I said that's what I'll do. I'll just have to think, okay, how do I wish I could be, but don't have the nerve to be because I'm afraid of confrontation. And it's actually, when I put on the face paint, it makes it easier to talk like that. Like I already have a mat. It's like I was looking at it. I know that I haven't trained yet, but it makes it easier to get into the mentality, get into the thought process of how I want to act, and how I want to act is just to look at someone who is a pain in the butt and say, just get to the point. I just want a simple yes or no answer. Just get to the point. If you want to say a caveat, just say what it is. Don't need drag it out. That would be what I would want to say if that was back in those days. So I hope y'all don't mind me doing this, but it really helps me out trying to understand where I want to go. Like I had sent an email to a person who's been talking to me about training online and how I how I would want what I want to be trained for. And can't fall down in the ring. I can't take any body shots, like in the stomach or in the back or anything. So what my idea was, act almost like what Tully Blanchard used to do when he was in the Four Horsemen. Be outspoken, act all big and bad because you have somebody that can be there for you when people want to beat you up. And I think, well, that may not be the original idea, but every now and then, when you have somebody that is really hard to control yourself from, why not just be outspoken? So, I'm around that a lot in real life, so I know what to pull from. So I think that's easy. So I think that's what I need to do. I did say I was going to talk about Raw versus Nitro. on the in the website here, and I do think it was March 8th, 1997. So because SmackDown won't play until 10:30, let me just go straight to that. Hmm. Uh, okay, good. Growing up, I was big time WCW fan. Um, so most of these Nitros versus Raw, I know a lot about it because growing up and even into my adult life, wrestling has just been of all the things out there for me personally. Two things I really get excited about the most, and that's wrestling and mixed martial arts. But I'm not nearly as excited with mixed martial arts as I am wrestling. So that's why putting on face paint and everything helps me so much, is because it at first it helped because I it helped me because I would have trouble talking. When I would put the face paint on, it would just make it easier just to talk because I could talk in a way that I'm not used to talking. And I was shaking my head because somebody's asked me if I was filming. Um, I was doing some writing the other day, so let me look back. Actually, it's March 3rd. I thought March 8th was a little, March 8th was a little out of ordinary. Um, I had I had seen Raw from March 3rd, but for some reason I only see right here WCW Monday Nitro Season 3 Episode 9. So it'd be March 3rd, 1997. Okay. Go all the way to the year 1997, which is like Season 4, I believe. It's actually Season 5. And I'm reminded of why a lot of these shows I don't remember from Raw, because most of these shows I didn't see. All I know from this episode of Raw is that the European champion is crowned, first ever European title championship match. The first champion is crowned in the finals of the European title tournament, and it is brother-in-laws David Boy Smith and Owen Hart, who were also tag team champions and partners. What's amazing about this is I think this eventually leads to them joining Brett and taking the Hart Foundation and turning it into a group. And while that title match happened, you can see this on the picture. This episode, you have Mankind against Psycho Sid for the WWE title. When you look at it that way, you can see that's a lot of the reason why, up until recently, it's been hard to watch WWE is because they either don't know the right time to have a title match or they don't know the right time to start and end storylines, and they don't have the right ideas. So it's really not only exciting, but it's an interesting time to not only make is it an interesting time to make plans of breaking into the business or to go to training school, because in the old days they didn't have a lot of training schools, so that's why they don't use the term break into the business anymore. They use the term train because it's what people can do now. And what was big about this episode of Raw is that the European title in the entire episode of Raw is going to be aired on in Berlin, Germany. Today that would not fly because of all the political correctness, but in those days, all people seemed to care about by this time was how a title like the European title was being crowned. The European title was actually the first champion was being crowned in a place in Europe. So I think a lot of the fans there probably felt just honored that they would go to there just to not only have an episode of Raw, but to have a European title. And I think they made the right choice in who the first ever European champion was, because he was from Europe in the first place. By the way, Rocky Maivia was still Rocky Maivia at this time. So they just showed, not only did they show the promotion of the European Championship match between the WWE Tag Team Champions Davey Boy Smith and Owen Hart, but and after they showed that, the Honky Tonk Man's walking down with his guitar to sit down with I think Vince McMahon was still doing commentary, so Vince McMahon and I believe Jerry Lawler. It may have been Jim Ross by this time, I'm not sure. And so they the second thing they promoted was the world title match between Psycho Sid Vicious and Mankind. Okay, so Honky Tonk Man's in the ring. I had no idea that he I had no idea that he was going to potentially have a match or talk in the ring. So that's going to be interesting to see what he does next. The next thing they promote is, like I said, Rocky Maivia. He's the Intercontinental Champion at this time. So this is long before he turned and started showing the personality that he has, the real life personality he has. I don't know if it's a title match or not. As a matter of fact, they show that he's champion, but they don't show the word championship match. But anyway, he's going against a man they call Vader, and I'm not really sure. Yeah, the Honky Tonk Man is going to the ring. Okay, at this time, they needed somebody sit down next to Vince, and they decided to use the Honky Tonk Man. At this time, I'm not sure what Jerry Lawler was doing, but I know he was there because I think it was the WrestleMania from this year right here, where where they had Tennessee Lee, Double J Jeff Jarrett reprising his um, Double J character, and they were in the ring with a celebrity, and that would be I didn't watch it as a kid on DVD because I was more interested in the the matches itself, but I would be more than happy to look at that scene all over again to see what it was about. All I know is it was somebody that was popular at the time. Okay, so the first match is Hunter Hearst Helmsley. He's supposed to be a he was supposed to be European himself, like British Bulldog. He was so over as a bad guy that he even had this German crowd booing him out the building. By this time, I think they were slowly showing that he was American. So I think they said right here that he was, in fact, from Greenwich, Connecticut. That was the first time they said anything about him being from an American state. So I think that was good progression by this time. Bret Hart is Hunter's opponent right here. So they decided to interview Bret Hart not only about this match but about what happened with Steve Austin, and he said in a nutshell he hopes and prays that Hunter Helmsley learns his lesson from this match, and he also hopes that Austin's watching from his house. By the way, Steve Austin said many years later, well, I say many years later, it may have been 8 years later, he said that when he inducted Bret Hart in the Hall of Fame, he said at this time, both of his knees were just really bad. So, so as popular as he really needed to be at home more times than he was. So when he found out about their submission match, he didn't know he was supposed to do it. So he was laying in his bed, and one of the nights that he was not being booked for the show, and he admitted that he was getting really mad that Vince McMahon announces it without even telling him that he's supposed to have a match at WrestleMania. What I thought was amazing the most was how he lost because of how important this match was, even at that time, because Bret Hart was a man that he always had great respect for. And he said he had to stop drinking a lot of beer, and when he did that, he actually looked better than he had in a long time. To the point that one of his own friends said, "Wow, you look better than you've ever looked, Steve," because the conditioning he was because of he was in so much better condition, and you didn't have all that poison from the alcohol inside of him. So I call it poison because I don't know how else to describe it. You didn't have all that junk inside him, he was dieting, and even though he was dieting probably on a regular basis, dieting and drinking does no good. But when you cut out alcohol, it makes you even more fit. So I can imagine just how much better health he was in, how much better he felt despite having two bad knees. I wonder though, if I was to interview Bret Hart about anything, I would have to ask him, because I noticed that when he became a heel this time around in '97, um, and he united all of his family with Bulldog, Owen, um, Anvil, and their family friend Brian, Flying Brian, or um, Loose Cannon Brian Pillman. Um, he was not able to wear the sunglasses anymore, and put them over the fans' eyes or on their head. So I would have to ask him, how did he feel about not being able to do that, because he did it for so many years. Then he goes to WCW, and I don't think he was able to continue doing that in WCW either. Match started off. Triple H did when I laugh like that, it shows the old school training he had and how much he had progressed by this time. He did a couple of cheap shot maneuvers, and looking back at it, it helped Bret Hart continue in a story, but it would have been better if they had Triple H cut back a little bit, or not had, because they didn't do a lot of writing. It would have been better if Triple H had wrestled with more technique and used less cheap shots, as far as giving the fans a match that they want to see. Lock up a knee into the gut, that I would call that a cheap shot, because there's nothing pretty about that. There's nothing fancy about that. It just adds insult to injury. And when you start off like that, it's a cheap shot because y'all are both fresh. Why are you doing that? However, Bret Hart, because he did a simple Irish whip into the ropes, Bret Hart came back with a hip toss. The inside headlock takedown. Triple H had to turn over to break the count. And they actually showed Steve Austin wasn't at home at all. He actually showed up to the arena. It was so cold in Europe, and that it was actually so cold in Europe, in Germany, that it was snowing everywhere, and Steve Austin was in a camouflage coat with his gear and his merchandise. And they Triple H tried a roll up, the old school roll up where you pull the tights. Bret Hart rolled back on it, got back in control. He gets to his feet, they both do, and he gets pulled down by Triple H by his hair. Lock up this time, side headlock, takedown. Bret Hart gets put on the side, the head scissors by Triple H. Let's go, bitch. Triple H stands up, he stands up back to another side headlock takedown. How can I say this without sounding rude? Because I don't mean to sound rude, I just mean to share my opinions. Um, to be honest, I really don't know. When I watch him wrestle like this and he does the same thing 3 times in a row, just because, probably, and it's just assumption, probably because it wasn't, probably because he was trying to stay in control, but he kept on doing the same thing. So when you look at it that way, I still don't know why he thought he was better than everybody else. Because there are a lot of people that could go from one sequence into the other, no matter if they were in control or not in the match. So that's why I didn't understand that. And he would do this a lot, I would notice. Triple H clotheslined him, ran for a running elbow, missed that. Finally, Bret Hart decides, yeah, once again, side lock takedown after headbutt. Triple H kicks out with the right hand and he turns his whole body along with putting his right shoulder up like that. Honky Tonk Man is giving out his some of his expertise as a wrestler himself, talking about Triple H doing in the ring, and I was actually surprised how honest he was about what Triple H was doing. Okay, I do have this on closed captioning. Um, I have it on closed captioning, but I got the deodorant blocking it, so I have to take that away so I can see what he's saying. Okay, see. Yeah, we're talking about Bret Hart losing the title the week before. Okay, I'm glad I rewound this. It is an Intercontinental title match between Rocky Maivia and the man they call Vader later on tonight. Hey, right. They're talking about 3 championship title matches. And they used that old cliche, nobody's home, for that running elbow drop, I guess you could call it. Stonkman's calling it an illegal headbutt. And he's saying that Bret Hart gets away with things he shouldn't get away with. But in reality, headbutt is not considered illegal. The same token, though, a right hand sometimes is considered questionable, so I understand what he means by that. I think it's probably why a lot of them use a forearm instead of a right hand. He was talking about being sneaky and all that other stuff. He claims Bret Hart was sneaky in the ring and does that thing so quick referees can't see it. He runs over. Triple H's back gets hit in the this gets hit in the stomach by Triple H's right knee this time, and he kicks him right where his ribs are at. It looks. Go to commercial break. We have a minute advertisement here. I started leaving ratings for these matches for fun, and the story that's being told here, I really have to give credit for Triple H to Triple H. He's not necessarily a rookie, so to speak, at this point in his career because he had started about 3 or 4 years prior to this. And I think 3 or 4 years, you're close to being um, more seasoned than somebody that's just walking through. So he was doing so good in the storytelling with what he was doing. Do everything at the right time, in the right place, and everything. That I would say that the match isn't even over yet, and I think they were doing a 5-star match with everything they were doing with the story and the technique they were using and everything. The fact that he's actually in control of Bret Hart right here is is really good. It really shows how well he had progressed right here because it's very hard to get in control like that with Bret Hart. Right. Ooh, through Bret Hart through the middle rope, the corner, and Bret Hart hits his right shoulder or rotator cuff against what looks like either the steel post or the turnbuckle. Let's see. Before they came back, they even promoted the Slammy Awards. There's an Irish whip right here. Bret Hart turns it, reverses it. When he bends down, Triple H goes right after his left shoulder. I held on to it and went backward like like Chris Canyon used to do the flatliner. And they're even announcing, promoting the movie The Terminator. It was going to air on USA Network the Friday at this time of the recording. Triple H is really doing a good job working on the left arm, turning into a hammer, like put his foot into the arm of Bret Hart. And he's about to go back with it. Ooh, really good work. Okay, so I go of it. Let's see. They even show how the submission match between Bret Hart and Steve Austin is actually gonna be sponsored by PlayStation. Of course, it could be the entire pay per view. Well, they're showing that Triple H just hit a running the high knee that he picked up from watching videos of Harley race. So connects it. He's going out there and he's gonna go for the middle rope, or at least try to go to the top rope. Bret Hart gets to his feet, cuts him off by hitting him in the stomach with a couple of right hands. So Bret Hart's gonna go for that middle rope superplex. Gets it. Standing leg drop. Headbutt. Irish whip. Right hand. Into the gut. Side Russian leg sweep. Cover. 2. Kick out left shoulder up. Okay, that was backbreaker by Bret Hart to Triple H. He's about to do the middle rope elbow. Gets it. Cover 2. Kick out right shoulder up by Triple H. Be honest, even though I believe I've seen this, I don't remember any of this. As a matter of fact, I don't. I remember more the European title match, but I don't remember this match at all that I'm watching here. Triple H is actually going for the pedigree, but gets countered with a double leg takedown, followed up by a catapult, and he lands and he hits his forehead over the steel part of the turnbuckle. Now Bret Hart's going the sharpshooter, but gets an eye rake, it looks like, from Triple H. Oh. Okay, when he gets thrown into the rope, instead of going forward or look like he was gonna do for either what Shawn Michaels did famous, what Ric Flair did famous, but he knew he had to be more original, so he just stayed there. Laid on the tripvo, and Bret Hart's about to get disqualified. As a matter of fact, he just pushed referee Earl Hebner, so Earl called for the bell right away. In comes China. Now, this isn't fair. China challenging Bret Hart when, even though she was, even though she was obviously a bodybuilder, she's still a female. So that's not really fair. Her challenging Bret Hart. Anybody knows he wouldn't hit a female. To bring out Tony Garea and Gerald Briscoe bring her to the back, and Triple H is upset with them. Okay, so now that that match is over, let me look at the Nitro part. Started with Raw because I didn't grow up watching it, so I don't remember watching any, so I don't know what happened on any of these shows. However, Monday Nitro it's a little have more of a memory, a little bit more of a memory. I saw a picture of Conan and Hugh Morris. Um, Actually, it shows how long NWO was before a lot of their famous stars joined them. How long they were together before a lot of their people that are considered full blown NWO members, like the foundation of the NWO, like Conan, Randy Savage, because for the early parts of the NWO angle, it was primarily WWE people. So when they got away from that because it caused them a legal battle with Vince McMahon. They got away from that. Not only did Eric Bischoff add himself as an authority figure and as a part of their group, but he gave everybody a chance to join them. And what I found interesting was that Eric Bischoff decided to do that because he knew he needed to remove himself from the how did I say that before? Oh yeah. He knew he needed to remove himself from the commentary table because it was going to get in the way of his duties as vice president. But the problem was after a while he lost perspective because he was a part of the NWO. And right behind them you can see Harvey Schiller, who never should have been allowed anywhere near the company because he didn't know the first thing about wrestling. He was just a TBS executive. And that's what ruined WCW to begin with, is that they did not know wrestling. TBS people ruined WCW because they they let their egos get in the way. Okay. So the first match is Conan teaming with Hugh Morris, representing the Dungeon of Doom, against Steve Mongo McMichael and Jeff Jarrett, representing the Four Horsemen. This is their second match as a tag team. Okay, so I do remember how this this duo only lasted about 2 or 3 months um of this year. Then lasted only about a month or two going against each other. So that's why this time is so interesting. I look at Steve McMichael, I just think how actually he, at the moment, he's suffering from the same disease my best friend's father's suffered from. So when I look at him and how he's struggling now, it it really shows how blessed my best friend's father was because he lived a relatively long time with that with ALS. I'm trying not to cry because I think about my best friend's father all the time, and I miss him. But when I think about Steve McMichael having it, it just floors me sometimes, and I think how um some conditions um that really can kill you, big time kill you. It's it it really just floors me because you never realize how long or how short life can be. He's not the Steve McMichael is not that old in terms of age. So, but he's old enough to where you feel like he's considered old, but he's really young. I think if my grandpa was still alive, I think he'd be close to 30 years younger than my grandfather, or close to 4 years younger than him. So that's how you can see how short life really can be. Anyway, this match started off with Hugh Morris and Jeff Jarrett. Irish whip to Hugh Morris, runs over Jeff Jarrett's back. Leapfrog by Jeff Jarrett. They both block their own attempts of hip toss to the right hand to Hugh Morris. Right hand, both Jeff and Steve McMichael. Irish whip this time picks him up. Inverted atomic drop. Okay, let's see. Stroke him on the rope. Ooh, I remember what he did right. What he was going for is the famous run, come back around, puts his leg over his opponent's right shoulder and come back around. I remember he even did that when I was a teenager, when TNA was still considered new and in its infancy. So I don't know what just happened. I thought Conan tagged himself in. The referee is not acknowledging it as a tag. Okay, let's see what he does here. Okay, it wasn't a tag. He just got in there to strike Jeff Jarrett, and Jeff put his leg into the rope by mistake. Clothesline by Hugh Morris. I know the classic psychology behind mocking what somebody does. It's be like big deal, and I think that's the purpose of it is to not only get under the opponent's skin, but it's but it's also to make fans of theirs upset. If that's the better you are at doing it, more people will want to see you get beat by the person you're mocking. So I understand why they do it. It's just that humorous. Let me put it this way: if he honestly didn't see the big deal of that strut, then he really has too big of an ego because there was really no big deal about him because he was pretending to be crazy. You know, to be honest, nobody wants to pretend to be crazy. So, don't know what he thought he was accomplishing besides possibly getting the crowd upset. They just did a double clothesline after he tagged Conan in. Don't know what they're going for here, but very Jeff Jarrett can get out of this quickly. Referee just kicked Conan in between the legs, and the referee Mark Curtis paid attention so much to what Hugh Morris was doing, he didn't notice Jeff kicked Conan in between the legs. So he let it just continue on after Hugh Morris did a twist. He jumped like a twisted crossbody knockdown Conan. Then he McMichael was tagged in. Clotheslines both men. Scoop slam. This actually, say what you will about his lack of skill, but doing a scoop slam, I can see right here, it's better than what I saw Goldberg do. And he did the 3-point stance and almost like tackles. And I remember this now. Jeff Jarrett grabbed the Halliburton briefcase from Johnny Grunge, hit Steve McMichael with the briefcase by mistake, caused a disqualification by accident. I think the referee saw it. Okay, it wasn't from Johnny Grunge, it was from Rocco Rock. Or if the referee didn't see it, he called for the bell, though. Or he made the count. Ooh. Okay. As far as match ratings go, let's say that Triple H versus Bret Hart beat Jeff Jarrett and Steve McMichael versus Public Enemy. Okay, it's gonna have to be like a 2 or 3-parter right here. So I'm gonna come back later on because I'm losing battery in my phone. Thank you and goodbye.